Hello, YouTube. I'm Vince White. I'm an employment attorney. On this channel, we answer publicly posted questions from YouTube users, getting folks the answer they need from an employment attorney. It's almost 8 p.m. on a Saturday night. Who in their right mind wouldn't be working at 8 p.m. on a Saturday night? Obviously, I would be. Obviously, that's fine. That makes sense. Life's going well. We have a question here from YouTube user 1A Audits, who asked us, can a company fire an employee for liking a negative comment on a post that was online about the company? Would that be a violation of their First Amendment rights? Is that retaliation? Parentheses, NYC. And then in a second post, 1A Audits goes on, this employee worked there for over 25 years. Okay, so lots to discuss here. Couple of things we can toss out of our conversation right away. 25 years probably doesn't matter. Also, First Amendment would only matter if you're working for the government, right? The First Amendment is your right to speak freely, free from the limitations imposed upon you by the government, not by private actors. So if you work for the government and they're firing you for your speech, then you may, in fact, have a First Amendment claim, and your First Amendment rights may have been violated. But if you have a private employer, it's unlikely that your First Amendment rights were violated. And this is all generalities, right? Talk with local counsel. Now, we'll go with the core of the question. Can a company fire an employee for liking a negative comment on a post that was online about the company? For most Americans, for most posts, in most jurisdictions, the answer is yes. That's a perfectly reasonable. Reasonable is a strong phrase. I don't know about that. It's a legal reason to fire someone most of the time. Now, we're going to get into some exceptions. If you're not an at-will employee, if you're an employee who requires some form of cause to be terminated, right? If you're in a union, you have a collective bargaining agreement, you have, certain conditions under which you could be terminated, but not just willy-nilly at the whim of an employer, then, that's a different story. If you're a civil servant, tenured teacher, if you work subject to a contract of some kind that has you depart your conditions of employment from at-will employment, then, that's a different story. All of those are going to be their own separate considerations, right? Like, I'll give you an example. Could a teacher be terminated for liking a negative post about the school she or he works at because it's like, oh, the library doesn't have any books, it's not well funded, and they like it? Could they be fired for that if they're tenured? Probably no. Conversely, if somebody goes and posts like, hey, this school is actually a front to farm children's organs, and like these kids are, going to get like murdered and their organs stolen, and I'm presuming that the post is not true and that teacher likes that, well, that might be enough. That might be enough to beat tenure, right? Like at the end of the day, you're like, whoa, educator, where's the judgment? These parents send their kids here. Why are you supporting the idea that we're human trafficking and like stealing organs? Like we're not. That's objectively not true. Why would you like that post? That might be a good enough reason to fire a teacher with tenure, right? So you see how you have these specific considerations for employees who are not at will. Now, I guess I should give an example here of at will, or a quick definition. At will means you can be fired for any non-discriminatory reason or no reason at all. And that's generally what at will employment means in 49 out of 50 states, or some people would argue 50 out of 50 states, depending on your point of view. Check with local counsel. Now, there are some additional protections. There are a couple of states that have, and a couple of municipalities. There's local laws too, so you gotta check with attorneys in your state and local counsel just in your local area as well. This channel deals primarily with the federal laws as they penned through the EEOC, so workplace discrimination and workplace sexual harassment. And I can speak in generalities about the general lay of the land of the nation, but I can't give you advice that speaks into every state in the United States. That would not be allowed. That the bar associations would come and take me away. And I don't want to go away. I like it here. So, there's a couple states where like your online activity, your social media posting, your whatever it is, your Glassdoor posting, your negative reviews on the Google or the Yelp or whatever it is, could be protected in certain jurisdictions. Another great reason to speak with local counsel about this, right? New York City, I actually am not sure that they have those protections in place. I don't believe New York City has protections for employees engaging in like bad mouthing their employer on social media in place. Off the top of my head, I don't believe that's the case. Again, check, certainly. Now, the last thing you asked is retaliation. Is that retaliation? Well, it depends. So retaliation in this field, in generalities, is going to flow from complaining about workplace discrimination, complaining about workplace sexual harassment, sometimes whistleblowing. In New York, generally, that would be whistleblowing about a matter of public safety, and also complaining about like unpaid wages, unpaid overtime, stuff like that, right? If you engaged in elevating or liking a post that touched upon one of those topics, it is possible that you have a retaliation claim in New York City. Certainly. New York City has some of the best retaliation protections in the nation. Some of the best, like top tier protections for retaliation. But again, it's, got to be on that topic. If we go back to our teacher example and you're liking posts about how your employer is human trafficking, presumably they're not actually human trafficking, and that's probably not retaliation because they're going to be like, we're not doing that. Why are you making us look bad? We don't want you to be here anymore. You don't seem like you like us, and now we don't like you, so you're done here, right? Would that be retaliation? No, right? But if instead, let's say you liked a post about maybe a coworker saying, hey, this place, this employer pays women less than men. It's a systemic issue, it's verifiable, and it's wrong. You like that post, and then the employer's like, hey, didn't like that you liked that post. You're done here. I would argue you have a claim for retaliation at that point, right? And that's going to be true of any workplace discrimination or workplace sexual harassment issue, and to some extent, also when you're talking about, wage issues and some of the other things we talked about here. Now, there will be additional forms of retaliation and additional protections in some jurisdictions. You must check with local counsel about this question, depending on where you are in the country, because, things vary. The laws are different in different places. And it's not just like, oh, I'm in Nevada, so the laws are different. The laws in Reno are going to be different than the laws in Tallahassee or whatever. Different city to city, the laws change as well as from state to state, right? So, and even more drastically in many cases. New York City is a great example. Like New York City to Philly, those laws are different. That is different, right? So, this is a general discussion, not something to guide your life or make your decisions. This is not legal advice. This is a notion of where to start thinking about this issue. I hope 1A audits that everything is great. I hope this answers your question. I'm really sorry if you were terminated for liking a post. That makes me sad for you, but I'm sure that you're going to do great and bounce back. And I hope you have a claim. If you have a claim, I hope you win. If this video was helpful, like, subscribe, comment down below. It helps me to help more people just like you. Share the videos. It helps. Take care, everybody.